Manchester United are reportedly planning to sign 2 midfielders this summer. Recently, the People's Person relayed a report claiming that United's recruitment team is looking for midfielders whose skill sets complement each other, as well as Kobbie Mainoo. In that regard, Carlos Baleba, known for his front foot defending and athleticism, ticks a lot of boxes for United, and a transfer in the summer is described as highly plausible. He is valued in the region of £50 million. Fabrizio Romano recently shed more light on United's pursuit of Brighton and Hove Albion midfielder Carlos Baleba. Speaking on his YouTube channel, the Italian journalist said Baleba was the top target last summer for United. The Cameroonian midfield dynamo has experienced a difficult campaign at Brighton, completing 90 minutes only 3 times in the Premier League. Regardless, Baleba's profile remains as appealing as ever for United, and his name is under consideration. It is understood United had an agreement with Baleba on personal terms last August, and what I can tell you that verbal agreement, nothing signed and nothing close, but that verbal agreement between Baleba and Manchester United from summer 2025 remains valid, Romano added. As such, United have already done half the work heading into the summer transfer window, and now all that remains is finding an agreement over a transfer fee with Brighton. Furthermore, the verbal agreement with Baleba is crucial, as United are not the only Premier League giants tracking the 22-year-old. Last month, Sky Sports claimed that he is also on Manchester City's list this summer, however, and Arsenal have also been mentioned in some quarters. Brighton categorically reject the suggestion that Manchester United could get a cut-price deal for Carlos Baleba. The Cameroon international's future has been put under the microscope again in recent days, following reports that Man City are leading the race for Nottingham Forest star Elliot Anderson. manunited appear to have shifted their focus back onto Baleba. The Red Devils already attempted to sign the 22-year-old last summer, but they were unable to break Brighton's resolve. At the time, though, Baleba had agreed terms on a move to Old Trafford and clearly had his head turned by the interest. Fast forward to April, and Baleba remains keen to join manunited. According to transfer insider Fabrizio Romano, all parties believe that last summer's verbal agreement between the player and the club remains in force. This greatly improves Manut's chances of signing Baleba. However, they still need to convince Brighton to sell, and this is where problems could emerge for the Red Devils. Earlier this week, the Athletic's manunited correspondent Laurie Whitwell surmised that the Old Trafford club's valuation of Baleba has dropped after what has been a fairly disappointing season for the midfielder. Whitwell revealed that manunited will be reluctant to pay more than €58 million £50 million for the 22-year-old, which is a far cry from some of the fees that were previously bandied about. Baleba used to be viewed as a €100 million player. Crucially, though, Whitwell acknowledged that the Seagulls are unlikely to play along at such a low valuation. This has now been confirmed by Team Talk, which claims that Brighton sources have made it clear that they won't accept €58 million for Baleba. Senior figures at the club recognise that they won't be able to get the desired €100 million for the midfielder, because he just hasn't been the same player since the manunited saga began. They accept that they will have to compromise on a fee. However, that doesn't mean that they will offer manunited or any other suitors a cut-price deal. It is asserted that Brighton are confident that they will be able to get around €80 million out of a deal for Baleba. The report also calls into question the claims that there is already a deal between Baleba and manunited. United sources have also played down claims that any agreement for the upcoming summer is already in place with the player. It is stated, "The battle to sign Baleba remains open, even if manunited are the favourites for his signature." Brighton and Hove Albion have played down suggestions that Carlos Baleba could be sold for £50 million this summer, with sources telling Team Talk that such figures fall well below their valuation of the midfielder, who remains a major target for Manchester United. Baleba has emerged as one of Brighton's most prized assets since arriving from Lille in 2022, and while the club accepts he could move on in the upcoming window, any deal will only be sanctioned if their demands are met. Brighton had previously been quoting figures in the region of £100 million for the 22-year-old, reflecting both his importance to the side and his long-term potential. While there is now some internal acknowledgement that a slightly reduced fee could be accepted, Team Talk understands that any realistic deal would still need to exceed £70 million. As such, reports doing the rounds right now that are suggesting Baleba could be available for as little as £50 million have been firmly dismissed. Manchester United remain most interested in the Cameroon international, having explored a move for him last summer. With Casemiro departing Old Trafford via free agency, Baleba is viewed as an ideal candidate to fill that void in midfield and become the club's primary defensive midfielder from next season and beyond. United are also planning to recruit at least one additional central midfielder, and Baleba's profile is seen as a strong fit for the club's long-term rebuild. Sources indicate that United have maintained contact with Baleba's representatives and have kept his camp informed of their ongoing interest as they continue to assess their summer options. However, United sources have also played down claims that any agreement for the upcoming summer is already in place with the player. They are not alone in the race either. A number of other top clubs across Europe also monitoring the situation, aware that Brighton could be open to negotiations if their £70 million plus valuation is met. For now, Brighton remain relaxed about Baleba's future, but their stance is clear. Any club hoping to land him this summer will need to come significantly closer to their asking price than the figures currently being suggested.